Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar. This webinar, as you all know, will be continuing a series on What's New 2017. And today's webinar will be talking about our improvements that we've done for mill turn. Now, over the past couple years, we've been actually doing a lot of major improvements inside our mill turn. And here to explain this to you today will be giving this webinar will be Daniel Dorica, and he's one of our experts when it comes to mill turning. Now, just want to remind everyone that during the session you can write down all your questions in the questions pane at the side, and at the end of the webinar, Daniel will go through the questions together with me and try to answer them as best as he can. And this webinar, again, is being recorded. So the recording of this webinar will be available pretty much very close to after when the webinar is finished. Okay, Daniel, I will make you the presenter, and you can go ahead and show your screen and start the webinar.
All right. Thank you, Sydney. I hope everybody can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. So thank you for joining us today, where, like Sydney already says, today's topic will be what are our main improvements done in the mill turn. So the first thing what I'm going to start with is with our machine setup. In order to define machine setup, you have to go to your operation folder, do a right click where you can find your machine setup option, and you can add it on the start or at the end of operation tree. Now, in general, what is actually machining setup and why we are using it for? For mill turn machines, especially the advanced one, which has the main spindle and the back spindle, it will help us to define our home position per each spindle, define our fixtures, and as well to define our offsets respecting to our spindles. In different way, it will define where our part is located in machine environment. Now, before I jump into a machine setup, I would like to show you a few options. If you go in the SolidWorks tools, under the SolidCAM menu, you'll find the SolidCAM settings. And in automatic CAM part definition option, here under the mill turn tab, I will recommend to use create machine setup for each mill turn project. This will allow you to, whenever you start a project, define very first machine, coordinate system, stock, and the target, machining setup element will already be defined. All right. So I'll open machine setup. So like I already said, the very first thing is you can define your home position, fixtures. I'll talk about the stock in feature and the offsets regarding to our spindle. As you can see, they are divided into the main spindle and the back spindle itself. The very new thing what we have over here is machine preview. If I click over here, the very first thing what you're going to see is the new window that will open the whole machine, and I will just start with what is actually the benefit of using the machine preview. I will start from the top icons, and the very first thing what we have at here is show and hide stock, show and hide target. All right, I'll just zoom in over here. And if I click on show and hide stock, you'll note that the stock is hidden. We can make it solid or we can make it transparent. In the same manner, we can show and hide the target, make it transparent or make it solid. All right, over here we also have a few of the options available for the orientation of our machine preview. Yes. All right, sorry. So as I said, the very top icon will be for the orientation of the machine itself. If you do a right click in the machine environment, you can find different options that I would like to share with you. The very first one is the fit option that will allow you to fit the machine in machine preview window. And different option is fit by box, and it will allow you to, if you click on this option, you will see the rectangle moving on your screen over here. And if I just release the left mouse click, he will zoom it to this area. All right. There's another option. It is a move. It will pan the view. There is a rotate option. It will rotate. Just to let you know, all the things what I'm doing is with the left click button. And also there is a zoom in and zoom out option. If I just click anywhere, it will allow me to move my mouse up and down, and it will allow me to zoom in and zoom out. Over here, it's the same options as I explained it on the top of the window. And we have something like how we would like to see our 3D models, like the wireframe, and my favorite, the wireframe hidden lines, where you can see the machine in different view. All right, and there is the most often by default, it will be shaded itself. All right, so on the bottom, we have our axis. And as you can see, this is all axis actually available for this particular machine. If I start to use it, for example, over here, I have the machine that has the main spindle, back spindle, also linear turret. We have the spindle with a B axis, and as well, we have the rotary turret. So if I click in the area, for example, on the X1 axis, I can use my scroll button to move this device along the X axis by 1 millimeter. If I use my shift key together with the scroll, he will give me the index of 10 millimeters. And if I use the control, I can index it for a 100. There's another option for define moving the devices. If you hold control and shift in the same time, it will change the position, and it will do the movements for 0.1 millimeter. You maybe note that if I go out of the machine limit, particular device will become all red, which means if you correctly define all the axis limits, the machine preview will give you this option and show you, okay, in this particular position, you are out of the limit. All right. So let me first tell you one thing regarding our main change in home definition. SolidCAM in 2017 allows you to use single or multi-home definition. What I mean about that? Let me just go to a different view over here. Now the user can use single home definition, which actually means that Mach 1 position 1 will be used for the main spindle and as well for the back spindle as well. Now, the main advantage of using single Mach or single home definition is that basically you can be much faster in programming definition. Also, all your geometries will be relative just on single Mach. The downside of using a single Mach programming is that, for example, many operators don't like to be relative to the 1 Mach on the both spindles. So if I finish my part on the main spindle, I would like to create another home position that is on the opposite side of the part and get the G code relative to that home position. So the user today can switch to use a single home position, or either to change it to the multi-home position, where for the both of the spindles, I'm going to use different Machs. All right. different option that we have in our machine setup is the fixtures. And as you can already saw it, our main and back spindle are using the collet. So in this case, I don't need to use it at all. Now, before I explain the stock in feature, I would like first to explain our offsets. I'll just click on our machine preview, and the X, Y, and Z offset allows us to define the shift respecting to our spindle coordinate system. As you can see, if I change it to 80, for example, it will dynamically show us the result, which actually you're telling, you know, to the software where your part will be really mounted on a machine. And now this is a perfect example where I can just change to any. I'll just leave it how it was, and I'll explain now stock in feature. The stock in feature, it's a flag which actually explain you, all right, how you would like to start the machining. Would you like to be on the main spindle, or you would like to get it on the back spindle, as you can see it over here. As I'm changing this option, you can note dynamically that in machine preview, it will be displayed. And you can also, I can go to my front view. I can use my fit by box. I can submit here like this, and I can check, is my part correctly positioned on a back spindle? Later on, I will show you why this shifts and stock in is important in later on definition of the part transfer for advanced military machines. Over here on the left side, I already start making the operations for my part, and I started with operations doing it on main spindle. If I leave it, that my stock actually start to be on the back spindle, and if I click OK, you will note that all my operations have a square box. And if I move slowly with my mouse over the operation, the message will be displayed that the stock is absent on the selecting table, which actually means this operation is done actually on different spindle. So I'm going to go back to my machine setup, and I'll go put my stock in my main spindle and just simply click OK. You will note that the red square is now removed, and you can continue with your operations. All right. The second topic that I would like to show you is the machine preview that I show you here in machine setup. It's also available in our tool table. It is also available in our operations and also in our MCO. It has different functions and different tools over there. And also, per each of these elements, it will show you different results respecting to the option that you are actually using. So, for instance, now I would like to show you the tool mounting feature in our tool table. So, just double-click on our tool table. You will know that in this particular machine, I have my spindle with the B axis, I have my rotary turret, and as well I have the linear turret. If I use my mounting, the same machine preview will pop up, but just with different options available on the top side of the window. Very first icon is for the tool orientation, and the fifth icon is for the switching the side of the tool. One of my favorite is to focus the tool. Then we have something that to hide the coordinate system, to hide the text. We can show and hide all the tools that is now not currently selected. Over here, I have one tool that is selected. Is this tool over here. And at the end here we have show and hide all STLs of the machine. I'll show you more about additional angle and tooltip position just in quite a few moments. All right, I'll start first with the linear turret. As you can see, I will just use the fit by box and I'll zoom in here. As I'm changing the tool, you can see that the tool is highlighted, which actually gives us, an option to be focused on that particular tool. And all the changes that we will done, it will be for a particular selected tool. Now, if I do the same thing for my B-axis spindle, you will note that also it's pre-highlighted. Let me show you what is happening if I use the same feature for my rotary tool. Sorry, for the rotary turret. So you will know that as soon as I'm clicking to any of the tools, he will dynamically rotate the turret to selected tool. All right. I'll select this tool number 17. The very nice thing is that whatever topology parameter I change about the tool, it will dynamically reflect to our tool mounting machine preview, so you can dynamically see the effect. So I'll change this, for instance, on the 10 millimeters, and you can note that he automatically changed it also over here. All right. Let me go to my linear turret, where for a particular selected tool, I'm going to show you this additional angle option and tooltip position. As you can see, additional angle gives us opportunity to set up the turning tool with a different angle. As you can note, I'm using the same scroll wheel on my mouse to index it for 1 millimeter. In the same way, I have the tooltip position that I can shift along the x-axis, as you can see it over here displayed. So I will just use it, and you can note that the position is changing. In the same way, I can use it for the y-axis. In some linear turret, it is very necessary. For instance, if I use my flip tool in order to change the insert phase position, I'm gonna need to use the y-axis position over here, and as well in this particular case, this is the z-axis. So I need to use also the z position, and now the tool is positioned correctly. All right, let me show you something about the rotary turret. Over here, I have one tool that I have selected over here. And as well, as I showed, I can also change the tooltip position over the X and Z in this case. But you can note also that here we have the station position. This is station number 6. If you see that this 6th station, it's also displayed over here. So you can follow what station you are actually using at this moment. This coordinate system, it's very nice to see it in tool preview, because it will allow you to position your holder in the proper way much faster than how it was before. So for instance, I'm here using some specific holder, and if I would like to use my flip function around X, Y, and Z, I can do it. So for instance, I would like to do the rotation now around the X, and what I need to do is just to flip it. It's now much easier, much dynamic, and much faster to define any of your tools in your tool library. All right. Now the next thing that I would like to show you is the machine preview in our operations. For instance, over here I have phase turning operation, and over here I have another one, and I'll just go and edit this operation over here. If you note, on the very top right, you will see the machine view. You can click on it, and what will actually happen I will use the focus tool. What will actually happen, he will calculate the operation, and the tool will be positioned in the specific location on the start of the operation. You can also use all the axes that is available for specific submachine. For instance, I can always use it a little bit to check. Sometimes you will have some you will have also the jaws defined, and in some cases it can be very useful to check what will really happen on the machine. All right, so for instance, I would like to open a different operation. In this case, it will be one operation that I have done for the radial drilling. I'll just double click on it. And as you can see, the turret is just positioned on the beginning of this operation. If I go to my levels and change my clearance level, for instance, because I can see that I have pretty good clearance over here, that I can reduce it, and that way reduce the cycle time of the operation, I will change my clearance level to 25. As soon as I click Save and Calculate button, you will dynamically see that in machine preview, the operation change its toolpath, and in the same way, the machine preview changed its position. All right. Now, the next feature that I would like to show you today, it's the improvements that we have done in our MCO operations. And when I say about MCO operations, I will talk about machining preview and as well about stock tracking feature. Over here, I already have defined the selected operations that you can see over here. It's all operations that is actually for machining the right side of the part. Now, after this, I already predefined some of the MCOs in order to transfer the part. But I would like to show you what is happening if I try to define the MCO just before the last operation than the main spindle. So just add machine control operation. And as you can see, the machine preview feature is also available over here, where now instead of showing you the very first position of the operation, function of this machine preview will show you the last position of your operation from the previous operation. In this case, it was the drilling on the radial. So this is the latest position of your machine, where you can, on the bottom, you can see all the axis values respecting to the machine coordinate system. All right. So for example, I would like to, in this case, I would like to allow operator to stop the machine, open the door, and to take the part and to put it on the back spindle. As you note, as I already said, in my machining setup, I defined that my part is starting actually on the main spindle. That means that if I use my CNC operator over here, and if I use the drag and drop option, I will have automatically selected the manual stock transfer. And because of the previous flag that my part was done on the main spindle, I would like to manually transfer my part to the back spindle. As you can see, it's automatically selected. Let me go to my front view, and I'm gonna fit my box over here, and I will just zoom on the back spindle. Just if I click on this parameter, you will note that my part is now actually moved to the back spindle, and operator will close the door, push the button, and continue with the cycle, all operations for the back spindle. For instance, over here, I already defined the part transfer. So in this particular MCO, my part is already in back spindle. So it means if I use over here additional MC operation, and if I use the same CNC operator function, you will know that manual stock transfer now it's on the main spindle. So there is no chance that you can transfer the part twice at the back spindle within the same machining operations. So just to let you know that SolidCAM 2017 always correctly track where your part is mounted in specific operation. All right, let me go back to the previous operation that I have done, and I'll do my new MCO operation. As you note, my upper turret current position before this operation is in this position. So I would like, before part transfer, I would like to move it to safety, to the safety, rotate the turret, and make sure that my parts transfer will be done by the back spindle itself. So how to do that? Over here, I have the action window where I would like to use my rotary turret, and what I'm going to do, I'll just use drag and drop into my area of the MCO. So what I would like to perform here is the movement. So I'll just click on the checkbox of the movement parameter. For instance, I would not like to move it to the Z safety, but instead I would like only my X-axis to go to the home reference. As you see, I'll just use the drop-down menu over here, and over here I have the option of move to home reference. As I click on it, the machine preview will dynamically present what will really happen on the machine even before we actually generate the G-code or before we actually run the machine simulation. With this rotary turret, now I would like to also to change the station and to change to something that is actually empty. So for instance, over here, I have my empty station will be station number 8. And I will leave it in this way. All right. Now the next thing what I would like to show you is to take my part with my back spindle. So I will take my back spindle over here, and I will use the movement. So in previous version of the SolidCAM, we also have the movement option and the part move. I will show you what is the real difference between those two parameters. So basically, the movement, you are always using it if there is no part on selected spindle. So for instance, if I would like to use my main spindle, I will not be able to use my movement function, but I will need to use my part move. So I will use my movement. And as you note, this machine has the X2 axis, which before I make the part transfer, I'll need to position it in the part transfer position. For this machine, it is constant, it is 469. And now it's ready to clamp the part. In this case, I'll just open my jaws, and I will add additional back spindle, and I'll make the movement. And this is the new feature that we have in 2017. I would click on my Z2 axis. Now it's very clear that my Z2 axis needs to come and take the part and move it to the back spindle reference. In the past, this was done manually, where you need to enter the values, and the part transfer will be done. Now in 2017, because we already defined our setup and correct shifts, parameter setup location will took those parameter, and he will automatically clamp the part in position where where the stock is defined actually in our machine setup. Now, additional parameter that I would like to show you here, and it's different in comparing to previous version, it it's that I already said it's the option to have a part tracking. Now, even if I bring my back spindle to part transfer position, it's still not on my back spindle. To say to the software that, yeah, now my part is on the back spindle, I'll need to use my clamp on the back spindle and to close it on stock. Now, what is the real difference over here? What's the real difference between open, close, and close on stock and release stock? Our open will just physically open the jaws. The close will just close it, but this doesn't mean that you would like to have your part on the back spindle. For instance, you would like maybe just to use your back spindle for holding the part. If the part is very long, you would not still like to use your operations on the back spindle, but you would like to perform some synchronization or turning synchronization, or maybe the synchronization with your C-axis and do some milling. So if you would like to transfer your part from spindles, use close on stock on particular selected spindle. So in this instance, I'll use close on stock. And now, as soon as I do that, you will note that now I can move my part to home reference. And now, for instance, I cannot use my movements anymore, but in this case, I need to use my part move. So I'll just click on this checkbox, and now I can use my part. The way how I'm gonna do it, I'll just say my Z home reference, and you can note dynamically that my part is actually moving together with my back spindle. And the next position is just I would like my X2 to be as well at home reference. All right. Now the conclusion is, in 2017 we done a lot of progress on the mill turn, respecting to the part tracking. So in any position in your CAM part, we exactly know where your part is located. Now, respecting to that, we add a nice feature of the machine preview, where we put it also in machine setup, as well in our tool table, all operations, including the MCO. And you can see lively and dynamically change that you are performing either in your operation, tool table, machine setup, or MCO. All right. That's all for today's webinar. And Sydney, I just finished. So if there is any questions on today's topic, so I'm now available.
First of all, Daniel, thank you very much. I can see right now that the mill turn is definitely a lot easier to work with than it is in the past. Very nice job. I'll just give you another moment or two, because nobody had written down questions yet. So you still have the last moment to write down any questions. In any case, if people have questions on this later on, after they review the webinar recording, you can always send in your questions, and we'll put them. We'll forward it to Daniel for it to get answered. Okay. Again, this webinar has been recorded. It will be available later on. Okay, Daniel, thank you very much. And
Thank you,
very enjoyable webinar that you did today.
Thank you.
All right, take care, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Bye-bye, everyone.